Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series. If you decide to join us from today, reading 2 chapters every day, you'll cover the Bible in 20 months. So it's great to have you with us. And today's readings are Genesis 46 and Acts chapter 18. Now, if you don't know me and you saw me dressed like this, you would presume straight away that I spend my day around a desk, that maybe I'm a professor, or maybe I'm a doctor, or a lawyer, or an accountant, because of how I appear. But I've just got dressed up like this for this morning's video, because those who know me will know I spend most of my time in t-shirts, and I spend my day with people and things of the ministry. But this idea of categorizing people and having stereotypical jobs is nothing new. For thousands of years, people have been doing it because careers are important. They tell us a little bit about you. So the story in Genesis 46 is that Joseph summonses his family to come and live with him in Egypt. And this is what he says to them at the very end. He says, look, when Pharaoh wants to talk to you and ask you about your life and your career, whatever you do not tell him you shepherds, because shepherds are disgusting to Egyptians. So tell him you livestock people, which is, I suppose, technically true. The big idea that I would like to lift out of both these chapters today is that your career, while important to you and may turn heads in your hands when your career is in your disposal, when your career is in God's hands, you can turn the world upside down. And I'd like to take us to Acts chapter 18. That's our New Testament reading today. And it's a rather impressive review of Paul and his journeys. He starts off there in Corinth, and then he moves to Ephesus, and then he hops on a ship and he goes to Jerusalem, and he goes to Antioch, and he moves through Galatia. Very impressive. He does some interesting things. He shaves his head, which was a very Jewish thing to do. Basically, it was a vow of thanksgiving. So in other words, while your hair is growing, you vow to give thanks to God every single day. And as people watch your hair growing, they know what you're up to. Very Jewish. And he did it to relate to the Jews. And it's not something that you should copy. I actually can't do it because my hair won't grow back. But anyway, that's very impressive journey of Paul. And he plants churches and he gets dragged before courts. It's very impressive. But what I'd like to focus in on is this couple that he met in Corinth, Priscilla and Aquila. Now, they had been asked to leave Rome by Claudius, the ruler at the time. And so there was a persecution on Jews. And so they left Rome, they arrived in Corinth, and they were making tents. So Paul arrives, and because he also can make tents, he joins them, and he plants a church in their house, and he's funded by them, with them in their career as they're busy making a living in Corinth. Well, after a year and a half, they sail with Paul. I don't know what they did with their business, whether they left it in the hands of somebody or wrapped it up, but they moved to Ephesus, and it's the same modus operandi. And so Paul is staying with them, and in fact, he leaves them there with the church. So here's a tent-making couple who were in Rome, then in Corinth, then in Ephesus, and everywhere they go, they make their tents, they ply their trade, and they extend the kingdom. Paul disappears now. He leaves them in Ephesus, and he goes off on his journey, and they go down to a marketplace, and they see a man called Apollos. And so they say to Apollos, they hear him preaching, and he's preaching powerfully out of the Old Testament about Jesus, but he doesn't understand the full extent of his faith. And so they call him to his house, and this is what it says. They taught him the word of God. Priscilla and Aquila taught him the word of God more accurately. Here's an inspiring couple whose career is in the hands of God. In other words, they close and open businesses for the sake of the kingdom. They move for the sake of the kingdom. And the job doesn't own them, they own their job. So it gives them time, it gives them energy to preach the gospel, to open their home, to have church in it. So their career facilitated the preaching of Paul, the planting of churches. They had the time and the capacity because of their careers to preach the gospel, to raise up more preachers, an inspiring couple. This is the point today. No matter what job you have, when it's in the hands of the Lord, it can turn the world upside down.